is NBC Palm Springs.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Olivia Sandusky. Daytona Everett has the night off. Coronavirus numbers continue to rise across the country. Florida reported over 11,000 new cases yesterday. This as Disney World reopens today, although guest experience will look different with precautions in place. And here at home in Riverside County, ICU capacity is now at 100% as new daily case records continue to be set. And that's where we'll start tonight. We'll take a look at our local COVID-19 numbers. The county has stopped reporting these numbers on weekends, so these are from Friday. Riverside County saw new daily case records 3 days in a row last week, with over 1,400 new cases reported on Friday. There are over 24,500 cases in Riverside County, over 7 of those here in the Coachella Valley. 537 deaths in the county, 148 of those here in our valley. Indio has the most cases in the valley with 1,879. They also have the most deaths right now at 42. And as you just heard, last week we saw multiple record-breaking days of daily cases in Riverside County. Now for some perspective, we'll take a look at this graph from Riverside County Public Health. Nearly every day during the week, we set a new record for daily cases. This graph here tracks the number of cases in the county. The most recent data confirms our positivity rate is nearing 16%. That means 16% of people tested in the county were positive for COVID-19. The original criteria from the state to reopen the county said we had to be below 8%. And finally, looking at the trajectory here, you can see early on it looked as if we were about to flatten the curve, but as the county reopened, confirmed cases also began to rise. Riverside County has reached 100% ICU bed utilization. That's according to the Department of Public Health. You can see that the county's hospital beds are also nearly 75% full. Early in the week, county officials said that hospitals are operating under surge plans, though they aren't completely full yet. And back here at home, we're taking a look at conditions at local hospitals. Do they have enough supply of a critical drug to treat our patients? Kitty Alvarado has more.
Doctors have been singing the praises of the experimental antiviral drug remdesivir in the care and recovery of COVID-19 patients.
What it is proven is that a drug can block this virus.
Now, Gilead Sciences, the company that makes the drug, presented research that shows the drug reduced the death rate in severely ill patients by 62%. And that's not all. 74% of the patients recovered by day 14. Dr. Alan Williamson with Eisenhower Health says they are seeing results with coronavirus patients treated with the drug.
We have been using remdesivir on a number of our patients, and it is in short supply.
He says they have enough now, but if the surge of COVID patients continues, soon there may not be enough to use on every patient.
So we have committees that are really studying, looking at who is most likely to benefit from that medication, and we may have to ration that in the near future.
Still, making those choices will not be easy.
So those are very, very difficult decisions to make. In some cases, we may decide that we don't think we should use the medication because the patient's outcome is likely to be very good. But there may also be some cases where we have to decide that the outcome is so likely to be bad, no matter what we do, that we don't use the medication.
He says if it comes to that, it will put doctors in situations they don't want to be in.
Those are definitely the most difficult, where we really want to try absolutely everything possible to save a life.
Kitty Alvarado, NBC Palm Springs.
President Trump is urging states to open schools as soon as possible, but with COVID-19 as a threat to public health, setting a schedule has been quite the task. Local school districts are now having to make the decision on whether they should go online or not. Palm Springs Unified School District says they'll be starting online and then phasing into in-person classes. The Teachers Association says they'll be prepared for online classes.
Comparing what happened in the spring with what could potentially happen in August if we do start distance learning would be comparing apples to oranges.
Coachella Valley Teachers Association says they're worried about a lack of connectivity for their students in the district. The Desert Sands Unified School District Board of Education takes a vote on the new school year. They approved a model 4-to-1 to open up distance learning on August 19th. The district will start with online learning, homeschooling, and move into a hybrid model of online and in-classroom learning at a later to be determined date. Parents will still have a choice for their children with homeschooling support or independent study. There was much discussion on strict safety measures, including mandatory masks, proper air circulation, hand washing stations, and temperature checks. Dodger Stadium hosts baseball and coronavirus testing. The Dodgers played an intra-squad scrimmage today in preparation for the resumption of MLB season later this month. This as coronavirus testing was conducted in the stadium's parking lot. Dodger Stadium is LA's largest testing site with the ability to test over 5,000 people every day. Thousands of California prisoners are expected to be released before the end of August. This order from Governor Newsom is the latest effort to combat coronavirus outbreaks in prisons. 8,000 inmates will be placed in early release programs. Those who are serving time for violent crime, domestic violence, or have sentences requiring them to register as a sex offender are not eligible for this. Jail populations in the state have already reduced by about 10,000 since the pandemic began.
Coronavirus coverage brought to you by East Valley COVID-19 testing site, serving residents of eastern Coachella Valley.
An early morning fire nearly destroyed the San Gabriel mission. The 250-year-old San Diego mission dates back to the late 1700s. The early morning fire call quickly evolved into a multi-agency response requiring about 50 firefighters. Fire investigators are still working to determine just what caused that damaging blaze, but we do know renovation work was going on inside. And we have a live look now from our Agua Caliente Casino cam. We're going to send it on over to Taylor Martinez with a look at your AccuWeather forecast.
Yeah, taking a look at current conditions out there right now on this Saturday. A hot 118 clocking in at the airport. Very light winds coming in. Humidity of about 11%. It was a little sticky out there today, but nothing too out of the normal. Looking forward to tomorrow, though. It's only getting hotter. We're going to see highs of 118 in Palm Springs. Very light winds again. If you want to do something on your Sunday morning, do it early. The sun rises at 5:45, giving you a little bit of time in the morning to get out there before it gets too hot. Well, I'll tell you about that later. But looking forward to our next 3 days, brought to you by Comfort Air. As I said, 118 tomorrow, lows of 87, so still not very much of a cool down. Monday, 114 with lows of 80, and we see a little bit more relief on Tuesday with 109. But when will we start to see more relief? I'll tell you in the full forecast coming up.
All right, thank you, Taylor. Looking forward to that. A scheduled power outage in Desert Hot Springs affected several households this weekend. This comes as Valley residents experience some extreme temperatures like we just heard. Our Nico Payne explains the timing of the outage and how one Valley resident is attempting to stay cool. Good evening, Nico.
Well, I can definitely confirm it's hot outside, and it will only get warmer as the weekend progresses. And as the Valley residents face these critical power outages, some are left asking, why now? The Coachella Valley faces record temperatures that could reach the 120s. Add that to a pandemic that has forced many people to stay in their homes for months, and electricity becomes an essential part of everyone's lives. But one Desert Hot Springs resident received a text message this past week of a scheduled power outage and questions why it would happen now.
I just don't like the idea, well, you're doing it now. Why in the summer? Why now when it's going to be the hottest time of the year? This is Saturday, 116, like I say, and Sunday, 118. It's too hot. Do the better time like the winter time.
Southern California Edison does provide a map of current outages in the area and explains that these critical maintenance outages happen to allow crews to safely perform upgrades and maintenance. As the valley experiences these extreme temperatures, cooling centers are an important way for residents to escape the heat. But while Riverside County has 15 locations, the Coachella Valley only has 4, and none in Desert Hot Springs.
It's kind of tough because the cooling centers in Desert Hot Springs are not open. So what I'm going to do, that's a choice I have to make.
This leaves residents like Johnson forced to prepare for the situation on their own.
I did go out to the store this morning and buy some ice, stuck it in my freezer to keep the freezer cold with the food that's in it.
And to come up with creative ways to stay cool.
I'm just going to stay here as long as I can. If I have to, I'll get in my car, cruise around and use the air conditioning. Like I say, don't do it in the summertime. Do it in the wintertime. Do it when it's a little bit not as hot. I was surprised they were going to continue today.
And as people continue to battle the heat, I do want to point out that the only 4 cooling centers open this weekend are at Martha's Village and Kitchen, the Coachella Valley Rescue Mission, Well in the Desert, and the Coachella Senior Center. I'm Nico Payne, NBC Palm Springs.
Thanks, Nico. Important information right there about these temperatures. Coming up after the break, Disney World reopens to the public for the first time since March. What changes are in place at the theme park? Plus, another special edition of NBC Cares Silver Linings. This week, we're highlighting one of the most important organizations here in the Coachella Valley. Disney World officially reopened to the public today, welcoming guests back for the first time since it closed in March when the coronavirus pandemic hit the U.S. But almost 4 months later, the numbers are worse now than when the park originally closed. Whitney Wild has more.
It's the happiest place on earth. Now it's trying to be the cleanest place on earth.
Cool. I just washed my hands.
But is that really possible in the middle of a global pandemic? The New York Times estimates the park is limiting capacity to less than 50%, making face masks mandatory, enforcing social distancing, and using temperature checks before you even get on the tram to the entrance, and constantly cleaning.
We feel safer at theme parks than we do at any other normal store or restaurant. It feels safer at the theme parks because they're putting in that extra effort.
That's saying a lot considering the state in which those theme parks are located. Florida is seeing a record-breaking number of coronavirus cases and deaths.
This is really, we're in a dire position right now.
But Governor Ron DeSantis insists the higher numbers are due to increased testing.
If you test 200,000 people at a 3% rate, you're going to get more cases than if you test 100,000 people at that.
Echoing an inaccurate claim from President Trump.
Everybody says, we have so many cases. That's because we test so many people.
But medical experts say he's wrong.
But what we see is that the percentage of tests that are coming back positive is increasing. The virus has basically outpaced those efforts. And now we have more people infected now than we ever have.
In Washington, I'm Whitney Wild.
Additional federal resources are headed to parts of Texas to help combat COVID-19. Governor Greg Abbott says he's working with the White House to respond to a spike in virus cases in the state. Additional resources include an urban area medical task force and a disaster medical team. We have plenty more come still after the break, but first we'll send it on over to Taylor Martinez.
Yeah, taking a look at our Agua Caliente cam in Palm Springs right now. We're seeing some light cloud coverage there. I'll tell you about that and the next 7 days coming up.
Let's take a live look now from our Walter Clark Highway 111 cam. A scorching hot Saturday. That water looks pretty nice, though. We'll send it on over to Taylor Martinez for a look at your forecast.
Taylor Martinez in for Mike Everett today. Don't worry, he'll be back very soon, I promise. But let's get right to the numbers. We saw highs of about 117 out there today, kind of far off from our normal of about 107 for this time, and inching too close to comfort for some people to our record high of 121 back in 1958. Current temperatures out there, we're clocking 118 at the airport, a very hot 118. Very light winds coming through, humidity of about 11%. It was a little sticky out there today, but nothing too out of the ordinary. That was mostly because of our cloud coverage, which I'll get to in a moment. Across the Southwest, 119 in Lake Havasu City, 113 in Las Vegas, 104 in Bakersfield, a very nice 72 in Santa Barbara. Even San Diego is pretty hot for this time, at 78 degrees. Bringing it closer to home, 118 in Thousand Palms, 118 in Palm Desert, and Palm Springs. Even the high desert, triple digits are sticking around, 111 in 29 Palms, 103 in Joshua Tree, 81 in Big Bear City, perfect day to lay by the lake out there, 82 up at Mount San Jacinto. As I said, we did see some cloud coverage today that will move out by the end of the night. And that's pretty much all that's happening for much of Southern California. As for our radar, there is some moisture in the air, nothing that will affect us. And same thing as our satellite imagery, kind of all that's happening through Southern California right now. We do have some advisories to tell you about, though. Very hot in the deserts right now. We are in an excessive heat warning that will last through Monday night. And a little more inland, they have a heat advisory going on as well that will go out of play tomorrow night. And this is just a trend through much of the Southwest. We're seeing temperatures 10 to 15 degrees above normal, really challenging those record temperatures that we have hit before. Future winds. We will see gusts get up to about 30 miles per hour along the freeway tonight. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Tomorrow, look at that, 89 degrees at 6 a.m. before it quickly heats up to 117 at 4 p.m. and only slightly drops by 8 p.m. Those dew points are staying in the 50s, a little sticky, but nothing too out of the ordinary, as I said earlier. Tomorrow, highs, 109 in Joshua Tree, 113 in 29 Palms, 118 in Thousand Palms and Palm Springs. Look at Indio, 120, even 84 up in Big Bear. Hot day up there for them too. As for Monday, those are sticking around, only slightly getting better. 106 in Joshua Tree, 110 in 29 Palms, 114 in Thousand Palms and Palm Springs, 116 in Palm Desert, 81 in Big Bear. Now to our 7-day forecast brought to you by Comfort Air. 118 Sunday, seeing lows of 87, not too low. Monday, 114, inching to 109, some slight relief on Tuesday. 110 on Wednesday and Thursday, 111 on Friday, ending next weekend, 113.
Martha's Village and Kitchen began humbly back in 1990, serving meals to the homeless. Since then, their Indio campus has expanded its programs to serve over 6,000 neighbors in need yearly, adding many crucial services along the way, including most recently an on-site COVID-19 testing site. They are one of the largest providers of services for the homeless in Riverside County. But like so many nonprofits during this pandemic, their needs are great.
You really have such an enormous outreach. What can we do to help you? What do you need?
I think that the community needs to know that we're here, and every day we're adding resources. If you ask up at the front desk, where can I get help with to pay my rent? They've got it on hand. It's at their fingertips. So you can talk to the front desk, you can come in, pick up the paperwork, we'll walk you through it. One of my biggest fears is what's going to happen when everybody has to pay the rent they haven't been paying all at once. One thing we could really use are if you have household goods or furnishings to donate to Martha's through our thrift store. That money that the thrift store gathers through its sales comes directly to Martha's for programs.
I know you have so many people that walk through the door for the cooling station and, of course, for meals. Right. How are you finding the morale? How is the mental state? How are people coping?
You know, it's like it goes up and down. And I would say that people are fearful. or they become very lax. It's kind of, there's no middle. I'm really proud to say that with the 120 homeless beds that we have, nobody has tested positive for COVID. None of our homeless clients have tested positive for COVID. We serve just under 250,000 meals, and that includes hot meals, right? And that includes the pantry, where they get a full assortment. When they pick up food from Martha's, it has actual meat in it, not mystery, and full meals. So if you get pasta, you're going to get a sauce, and you're going to get sides to go with it. It's going to be based on your family size, and it's going to be for a certain number of days and full 3 meals during that period of time.
So through all of this, have you found a silver lining? Is there a silver lining for you?
I would have to say, no, I'm not your normal individual, but I would have to say what it taught me is that we have to be prepared. We have to. And I remember sitting in my chair, the CEO chair, when this first started, and thought, how am I going to do this? How is this going to happen? How are we going to gather all these people and give to them what they need and the way that they need it? And we did it. And every day is a challenge, but I know it's one that the staff at Martha's Village and Kitchen can overcome. And if we get knocked down, we can get back up. And hopefully we're even more prepared, making us better in the end result.
And the end result is really an amazing outreach to our community. Thank you so much for all that you do, Linda. I know the task is enormous, but it sounds like your hearts are in the right place. And if our community can help, as they have done for so many years, that makes it a lot easier.
And thank you to everybody.
For NBC Care Silver Linings, I'm Sandy Newton.
Welcome back. Time to check your NBC Palm Springs sports headlines. New York Yankees closer Aroldis Chapman has tested positive for the coronavirus. Manager Aaron Boone says Chapman is experiencing mild symptoms, but overall is doing well. Chapman pitched in an intra-squad game Tuesday, but Boone wouldn't comment on whether he had been at Yankee Stadium since. Boone says the team has gone through contact tracing protocols. No other players or personnel would be forced to isolate because of Chapman's positive test. The Yankees will open their regular season July 23rd. That's against the World Series champion Washington Nationals. Should be a good game. NBA teams are preparing to return to their full-scale practices. They're inside the Orlando bubble. The 22 teams are resuming their regular season on July 30th. Anyone who tests positive will remain in isolation until they clear public health protocols and are cleared by a physician. Players won't be able to leave their assigned resort except for team-sponsored events or under pre-approved circumstances, which can include fishing, bowling, and golfing. UFC 251 gets underway in just over a half hour. It's the first of 4 fights hosted on Fight Island. Yas Island in Abu Dhabi will play host. It's a 10-acre vacation destination that was born in 2009. It's UFC's attempt to creating a bubble for fighters and staff. Tonight's main event will feature Jorge Masvidal and Kamaru Usman in the welterweight title fight. That does it for sports. We'll be right back. Stay with us. And thank you for joining us tonight. Now remember, if you missed any of today's stories, you can see them on our website, NBCPalmSprings.com. You can see a QR code on your screen. The lovely Taylor Martinez pointing to it. It'll look just like that.
I love the QR code.
It's great, right? You can scan it. It'll take you to our website. You don't need a separate app to do it. Just open your camera app on your smartphone, zoom in. It'll automatically recognize it, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
News in 2020.
Seriously. Check out our Instagram, our website, our TikTok.
And as well as the 6:30 show, which Taylor's in. It's a whole lot of fun. Taylor, thanks for joining us on the weekend. We had so much fun with you. Sorry it had to be so hot.
Yeah, hot weekend for my first hit of weather, but hey, I wouldn't do it with anyone else, Olivia.
Oh, thanks, Taylor. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tonight at 11.
Have a good night.